Right, so normally we're face-to-face on this, looking that way.
Yep.
But that's going to be quite difficult. So you're actually on top of me.
So
which is about right.
Not on my screen. The side by side on my screen. So this, just to introduce to our viewer, that this is a platform called Zoom, which I'm sure nobody's aware of. It's quite innovative.
Do you think?
And nobody has paid any attention to Zoom or Microsoft Teams or the like in the past 11 weeks. So, but we were into this, what, five years ago, isn't it?
5 years we've been using Zoom.
Tom started using it on Seth Godin's alt MBA. That's how we found out about it. So we were really cool and advanced on this. So yeah, we're usually face to face, but for obvious reasons, we're not at the minute.
No, and it's just a bit odd, isn't it? How's lockdown been?
A combination of beautiful and terrible, I think, is the best way to describe it.
Why beautiful?
Oh, because it's been amazing because the weather's been amazing, and that cliche about spending time with your family, and I mean I'm very, very close with my family. It's just magic, and spending time with my son, my 12-year-old, which I never ever would have spent. It has been like how your relationship improves during holidays because you can spend time with people, and then so that's been fantastic, and also been able to schedule my work, and we have worked hard, haven't we? And
I think so.
I've worked really hard, but I've also, been in here since 7 this morning, and then I can bail out later on. So I can manufacture my working time however I want, and so that's been beautiful. I'm pretty fit, not I'm not as fit as I've ever been. Some people are that I know, but I'm pretty fit, and I've looked after myself pretty well. So the beautiful side of things are just, garden's great. I'm really enjoying it. And all that stuff's been great. So that side's been beautiful.
So not so beautiful side.
So obviously the stresses that everybody's felt, everybody's stresses are, the themes of everybody's stresses are much the same, and the details slightly different, isn't it? But the stresses of what's going to not being able to work, what's in terms of the clinical work and the practice, what's going to happen, when are we going to be able to work, worried about everybody in the team, making sure you're trying to do whatever you can to secure everybody in the team, feeling the responsibility of that, feeling the responsibility of looking after your family and hoping that you're going to be able to look after your family, and going to worst case scenarios in your mind far too often and then pulling back. So that's difficult. So it's difficult to if I had just, say, sold the practices and I was finished, lockdown would have been extraordinary because I would have just went, I don't care. But there's that, and obviously at the start of it, there was the health worries and worried about individual family members and is everybody going to be okay? And so it's been a combination of fantastic ups and then the downs to do with that, which come and go.
I think I should probably apologise at this point, because I think in the January, beginning of February, when we had all that issue of not being able to open on time, I said to you, we'll get through this, we'll be fine. It's not going to get any worse than this. That didn't quite pan out how I thought it was.
So easy. That was, well, to be fair, was it? I don't know if it was any different, because what they told us on the 27th of January is we would be shut for 3 months. So it was we just had a heads up about being shut for 3 months earlier than everybody else. And so what about you though? So because we know we've chatted about it, but you've used the time really well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no different to anyone else. Ups and downs, but mainly up, if I'm being honest. I've managed to do, like you say, stuff with the kids. I get to train with my eldest son, who does lots of training. And we played games and stuff that ordinarily, I've been schooled in Xbox because I haven't gamed since I was a student.
What are you playing?
Well, we've gone through the FIFA tournaments. We've gone through various shoot 'em ups, and I did try at one point to play Fortnite, and then
you can't do that. You don't have the neuroplasticity to build.
Not at all.
Building's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. How fast they can build 300 feet up, and you think,
I know.
Fuck, did they go? It's just nonsense. I did do a drawing, and it was based on our friend up in Scotland, who we've got some
Right.
stuff in the the paintings in the academy.
Yes,
So
yes.
she's been encouraging people on social media to learn how to draw. So I bought a massive online course for £4 on Udemy, and I drew an eye, which I was really proud of. And then I stopped, because you can't learn to do loads of things when you're locked down.
No, you can't. I did an online course. I did Seth Godin's Bootstrappers Workshop, which is great, but I didn't finish it because it got too overwhelming, and then stuff came in that had to be done now, and you have to go to it. But you get, if you don't finish, you get to go and do it again. So, but I did that, and that was really good, and I really enjoyed it. But one of the things is, isn't it, is I had this before a long time ago, and I wrote about this. It was the first kind of sabbatical experiment, because my wife and my kids went on holiday without me at short notice, because my dog ate 3 little squeaky tennis balls and had to have them cut out of her stomach because she kept being sick. And so we were all going to Cornwall, but just 3 days before Cornwall, she had to have a laparotomy and have the tennis balls taken out of her stomach, which is funny now. But so somebody had to stay at home with the dog, so I stayed at home with the dog. And at the start of that, I thought, this is magic.
I remember this. You made a list, didn't you?
Unscheduled time to do whatever I want, right? I'm not at work because my holiday's booked. Nobody's expecting me to be around. And it was awful. And it was supposed to be brilliant. It was terrible, because the expectations I put on myself about what I could achieve were massive, and the actual achievement was not massive, because I ended up like watching the telly till too late into the night and eating rubbish and not getting up in the morning, and then being miserable that I hadn't done stuff. And so you have to be careful in this period that you didn't fall into. And there was periods where I did that, where days just vanished. I was going, what did I do today? I got much better at sort of scheduling what was going on and being realistic about what I could achieve. And I think that's the key. Is it's just, you're never going to.
I wonder how many people promised they would have their whole life sorted.
And
learned to play the piano, read 64 books, and
there's people. I have spoken to people that have said that. That said that. And I'm not mentioning any names. That have said, everything that was ever on my to-do list is completed. And I'm like, great. What my wife and I realised was that there are some things that are on our to-do list, and we say that we don't do them because we don't have time, but we actually don't do them because we want to, because we have time, and we still didn't do them.
Now our justifications changed, because we didn't do them because we didn't have time, and now we didn't do them because we want to do other things that are more valuable than doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference.
My house is not any cleaner. My house is not. We did some stuff in the garden, which I've actually quite satisfied. We did the whole jet wash and repoint the patio thing, which was great. But it wasn't great.
Everyone's got a clean patio, I think.
Yeah. And I've done some decorating. And before I would have just said, get a man. Yeah. But because of I've absolutely reevaluated how I spend money as well, massively. And so I just don't. I just think, well, why don't I just pay?
I think that's a huge shift for me, because I think I'm probably at a different stage to you. I'm still a bit more materialistic.
Right.
And I think this probably shifted that.
I think I'm probably
not probably, definitely. I mean, having a forced unpaid 3-month sabbatical does change your viewpoint on things.
I think I'm more materialistic than I thought or said it was. So I think I'm more. Well, at times through this, when I've been worried about what's the future going to hold, and is the business going to survive? I have thought about. I've thought I don't really want to lose my house. Thanks. Whereas before I might have thought, well, it's very zen, going, well, it is what it is. I'm going, that's not what it is. I don't really want to. I'm quite upset if that happens.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm more but I just, I can't get away from the fact that money is required to be exchanged for goods and services to some degree. And so I'm not sad that I can't buy massive, big, shiny objects, but I would not like my family to suffer, and not suffer, but you know what I mean, have to move to a 2-bedroom house.
I think it's almost just being more conscious about it, as much as actually, and I don't feel guilty about the stuff that I get and have got in the past, but I think I'm certainly more conscious about it.
Yeah, I've not been sad, particularly that I'm not buying stuff, and I've gone off the deep end with that a little bit, because I've got reusing tea bags and stuff like that, completely necessary. And people hate, your wife hated that.
The tea snobs are going to strike you down for that.
I don't care. I have examined ways of cutting out waste and stuff like that, and that's been brilliant. And overridingly, it's not been a bad thing.
It's not.
Just if I could just have dialed some of the stress stuff down a little bit, just a little bit. But I was chatting to one of my friends last night who's a consultant cardiologist, Mike, who and we talked about this. I will always find something to be paranoid or anxious about because that's my character. And I don't think overly anxious, but I always need to have something that I'm thinking that could go wrong. And so before COVID, it was clearly the new build. But before, I've never, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, before we started building stuff, there's plenty of stuff I was worried about. Plenty. To the same level of anxiety. This, because we talked about this last night. That thing about everybody lives genetically you're coded into happiness bands.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say 0 to 3, 4 to 7, and 7 to 10. So while you can move within the band, so you can go from 4 to 7, you can't go from 4 to 9 because you're not a high band happy person. Right? Yeah. And I think that my understanding is that's quite well accepted as a thing. I think anxiety is the same to a degree. I think you have a level of baseline anxiety as a person. Call it anxiety, call it what you want, but I need to be. If I don't have anything to be anxious about,
that anxiety gives you the drive. Though. It has to.
Yeah, I think that's true, and we have we that's quite philosophical, isn't it?
Yeah, got a bit serious for a second.
Society paints a picture of what happiness should be, and we accept that, and it's not true. And so it's yin and yang, isn't it? You need one with it. Well, certainly for me, you need one without the other.
And you need, and maybe you need that anxiety and to some extent suffering. I mean, you pointed me to that ridiculously stressful book, which I can't remember the name of. Victor. Yeah.
Frankl.
Yeah. Which
few people have read that during lockdown. Army read it as well.
Puts things into perspective. Doesn't necessarily make you change wholesale.
I don't know. I think it probably makes. I think it makes. Well, it depends on the individual. I think it makes you accept the fact that life. It's the Buddhist thing, isn't it? That life's never just on an even keel. It's never, ever for any length of time. And the problem is our memory shifts things and says, well, actually, last year I didn't worry about anything, which is garbage.
No, it's you always remember the good stuff. I mean, women wouldn't give birth again if they just remember the pain, would they?
That's the peak end rule. That's Daniel Kahneman. That is, and that's what lockdown will be like. You'll remember the best bits, the average of the best bits in the end. And at the end will be coming out of it, and the best bit will be the best bit, and you'll go back to lockdown in a year's time. That's great. And you will forget the fact that you were waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning going, oh my God, we're all going to die. And then go back to it again.
So I suppose we better get back on track or we're going to be here all day. Where does this leave dentistry after this?
I don't know.
There's a question no one's been able to answer.
No, and I have no mandate to answer that. Where does it leave our dentistry? Look, it's shambolic, I'm afraid, and when people look back on it, it will be seen to be shambolic. I don't think it's any harder to be a dentist than it is to be somebody that owns a restaurant or a pub. Perhaps harder for them. And so I think there's a lot of people. 25% of the population are suffering, 75% are not noticing, and they're not noticing ones are hard work to deal with because they go, what? Oh, we always need dentists. And you go, we will always need dentists, but when it's illegal to do dentistry effectively, that's quite difficult. Explaining to people who perhaps sell, signage, COVID decals online, and saying to them, imagine somebody turned up tomorrow and said, you can't sell any decals anymore for the next 3 months, but you have to contact all your customers and make sure all the decals have already got a fine and fix them for nothing. And there'll be outrage in the decal industry, right? Which is effectively where we are now.
And they have to wear hazmat suits.
Yeah, well, they do, and pay for those. So where does it leave dentistry? Where I sit at the minute, it was 1st of June, isn't it? So to analyse the information that I have, which is not all the information clearly, and the insights that I have into it, are that dentistry needs a pandemic to settle down. Okay, it needs the threat level to go down.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get any sort of real normality in dentistry until that happens.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's it, right? So when the first, you have a chance to set up, you have a chance to challenge the matrix when the matrix is first defined, and so Boris defined the 1 to 5 threat matrix, and that's it. So that's in there, and so we have to accept that. That's not going to change. And so until we get to threat level 2, that's not going to change. And are we going to get to threat level 2 when everybody goes to the beach at a weekend? I don't know, but I don't know. And so we're going to have to go back to what we said at the start of this was you can't shut for safety and open because you're poor, and secondly, you're going to have to manage your absolute fixed monthly costs as a person, as an individual, and as a business, and for as long as they last.
Yeah.
And ratchet them down and down as it gets harder and harder. And so that is the truth. And you can shout and scream and bitch and chirp about it as much as you like and stress about it. You ain't going to make any difference.
No. I mean, that follows on from your blog yesterday, which was, about what's unfair.
See, it's not unfair.
There's no point in,
Well, you can do that if you like. You can write the narrative if you want, right? Do I think that there will be dentistry after this? Yes. Do I think that dentistry will be different for a period of time? Yes. Do I think it will be really, really hard if you've just opened the White Elephant? Yes. Do I think it will be really, really hard if you're in a converted bungalow doing NHS dentistry? Yes. That'll be really.
That's going to be tough, isn't it?
That's really hard, right? So at least we have some sort of modicum of control. So we need to get the patients through the door. Oh, we work on. That's yours, not mine.
Yeah, that's definitely me.
We work on low risk, low number, low turnover of patient, high price, in inverted commas. But if you're on the other way around, it's going to be tough going, because and so that. But at the moment, it looks like at level 2, that'll all disappear and we'll go back to normal as long as we stay at level 2. And you can hope that level 2 is geographical. The levels are geographical, because actually, if they asked me to make an assumption of the disease threat level in Nottingham, I'm going to say there's 80 patients between the 2 hospitals. There's 10 on ITU.
Yeah.
There's 600 reported cases. There's obviously tons more than that, but 600 reported cases. If we put really good measures in place, we can do whatever we want at low risk. I'd happy take a view on that and do it, but I'm not allowed to do that just yet. So it's got some time to roll. Yeah. So for the guys that are still here, it will be great.
Yeah.
But the problem is how much can
how long can you stay strong and liquid? I guess.
How long are the owners of businesses prepared to support the businesses at the expense of their families? I'm afraid that is the bottom line in business.
Yeah.
So how long are the shareholders of the business prepared to support the business at the expense of the shareholders? That's one thing. But when it's a family-owned or a personally owned business, are you going to wreck your whole family to try and? How far are you going to? You are going to wreck them a bit. How far are you going to wreck them to keep alive?
Yeah, there's a balance. There's a limit, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to something a bit more positive, we've managed to keep the academy running through this, and I think it's worth just, if anyone's listening who's been on a course, just to thank them for staying with us, because that's been astonishing. The business courses run you. The focus of the business course, I suspect, changed somewhat, particularly about the absolute fixed cost came into play very quickly.
It did, and it did change the focus to a degree. It was hard not to just focus on the COVID environment entirely on that, but we didn't. And so we've run 2 of those 2D modules now through this. And we hope that we'll run the next one face-to-face. We should be able to do that if things continue in the right way. And then we restructured the year long a little bit. We're able to run that. Masterclass this week we've been able to run. And actually it is a time to say, it's very easy to put your hands up and say, I'm not doing anything and I'll wait for things are normal. I don't think that's the right approach. For all of us, we should use the time we've got to make ourselves a little bit better prepared for the other side. surely that's the only way. So I think it's been brilliant that people have engaged with that and trusted it and supported it. It's been amazing.
And do you think everything will stay online? I mean, I sort of know the answer to this because we've sort of had a troubleshoot meeting about it.
If everything goes entirely online, then I don't think we'll be providing the education.
No.
Because we won't want it. Because that's not how I see education, and it's not how I see. Education is education, whether it's your 12-year-olds getting these online lessons from school, or whether it's your 42-year-old learning how to do implant dentistry. The engagement level online is not.
It's definitely not.
and the experience of learning is not as good. So whether can it be blended for convenience and for environmental sustainability and all of that stuff? Absolutely it can. But you can't. I think the preparation for things. You have to make the most out of the face-to-face contact by preparing people and making sure they've got everything they need. But it's not face-to-face. Humans are social animals.
It's tough holding a room over Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah, really difficult. I tried DFTs. I was teaching the DFTs last Friday, so I tried DFTs with their videos turned off.
Really?
Like that. And half of them have got the videos turned off, and I'm going, your video's not working, and they turn on and go, no, they're working, and turn them back off again.
I'm just playing on my Xbox.
Well, that's fine, but it's hard for the speaker to be inspired.
You need that. You need that feedback, don't you?
I think some of us do. We do. There are some people who can just stand up and monologue a lecture, but they're not particularly inspirational lectures, are they? So yes, I think the future is. I don't think video consultations are the future of dentistry, and neither do there might be a space for that, but not entirely. Nor do I think that Zoom lectures are the future of education.
So last little bit, because like I say, you and I could just drone on for hours. What do you think lockdown's taught about you? What taught you about you?
Taught me about me. God, that's a cracker. I wasn't expecting that. It's reaffirmed what's important to me. And it's Viktor Frankled me. Viktor Frankl, if you haven't read the Man Search for Meaning, he was a German psychologist who ended up, a Jewish German psychologist, ended up in a Nazi work camp, and family taken away, no clothes, and walking on frozen ground with bare feet and digging holes in frozen ground all day, and so clearly we're not anywhere near that, and so it's taught me what would be important for me to preserve. The house is on fire, and you can only take what you can carry, and it's taught me what I would carry. So I think perhaps I thought I knew that, but I think I know it better now, and so that's really good, and it's just reaffirmed the parts of my work that are important to me, and the parts of my life outside the work that's important to me, and so that's a gift, isn't it? And whether I can, whether external environments will allow me to go with that and to pursue that, I don't know, but I'll try. So
yeah, how are you going to hang on to it afterwards? How do you keep the space, and how do you keep the balance?
Just I was really lucky to be able. I must had quite a lot of balance before.
That was me asking the question to me, I think.
Right, so I understand that I understand very clearly through this that there's only so much that I can do, and so there's only so much that I can do. So I will try my best. I will try my best to prioritize where my biggest impact is, and I will try to get that done. And it's been very good through this. I mean, I could have worked 16 hours a day through this quite easily. But like today, I come in here early, I'm going home at 1:00.
Yeah. Whatever's
done. And the rest of it will be there tomorrow. And
I think that's the key. I mean, it's easy to, Rachel, my wife, was asking me, she asked me most days, what have you got on today? Are you busy? And I've got a to-do list that just keeps going. It's never empty.
Yeah.
and it's about, it's first principles, doing the first things first, doing the important things first, and then everything else will still be there tomorrow.
I think that the ability to prioritize what you're going to do as the most important thing is massive. And the truth is, if you've got a list of things to do and there's one thing that's really important, however long or short it takes to do, I know what the most important thing I have to do today is. I've not done it yet, but it's one telephone call, and that will get done today. And if that gets done today, good.
Everything else beyond that's a bonus. And I think
it would have been easy for me to say today, oh, do you know what? Because we had a conversation right before this about new guidelines and how we implement them into the practice. Easy for me to have just said to you, oh, but I'm not having this chat about this or that. But this is a really important part of our work. It's a really important part of what we're doing with that whole group of people that are really loyal to us, about who come and have their education and do this, and also just try to make people feel a bit better, because we have still at the moment got the platform, the opportunity to do that. I taught the DFTs on Friday, and I've had about 5 or 6 emails back. It's really, really, really lovely emails to these guys that are at that part of their career and really struggling. And so
that's a tough place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, at least as tough as it is for us.
So, more importantly, good books, good movies, good box sets you've watched, read throughout lockdown.
So that's a sort of conversation of the times, isn't it? The Zeitgeist, the box sets. Because even I have, who's not a big television watcher, because I'm not allowed. Let's get that absolutely clear. Because my wife, I would watch television.
Yeah, we'll come on to what she relented with though in a minute.
Right. So the 2 things for me that on television are Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Okay, every single episode.
I've got to disagree. It's rubbish.
Right, well, my kids love it.
It is okay. It's daft.
It's daft. I love it. Right, it's not.
It's mindless viewing, isn't it? He is funny.
Let me frame this. My wife and I do not sit together and watch the television ever. Okay, but there's no point in me telling you to watch some Peaky Blinders or anything like that, right? Or some intellectual thriller on Netflix, which is great, or Breaking Bad. And I've never watched it. That doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm sorry if that disappoints you. But the other one is the Last Dance.
Now that we've already had a brief conversation about.
Right, so that is, to me, one of the most extraordinary pieces of television. 10 episodes of basically the history of Michael Jordan following the last season they did. Not because of the basketball, which of course is really important.
Now I'd heard you play basketball once or twice. So
I played 3 days ago. I played in a bounce game 3 days ago, 2-on-3, and I was in the 2, and we won 12-4, and I scored 10 points.
Did you score in the last minute though?
No,
is that a bit sore?
We were winning by so much that the 3 said, "Look, next one's the winner." And in the last basket we scored, I went into the basket because I've already scored 10. They came out and I handed it off to and it was the only points he scored.
There's probably a metaphor there, but going back to the Last Dance, he never shirked from that last minute shot, did he?
No, he didn't ever do that. He didn't ever do it. He never thought of the consequences of that. But so it's Michael Jordan's history, really, but it's access all areas and totally candid stuff from everybody involved in that whole era. And that is one of the lessons to learn. But the biggest lesson to learn from that is, for me, and I've watched it twice through to through with my son, is what is required to be great. That was the thing. What is required of you to be great, right? And so everybody wants to be famous, and everybody wants to be thought of as being brilliant, and etc., etc. And in that bit in episode 7, where he's watching the iPad, as people say, he wasn't a very nice person to play with, and he cries, and he explains that he had the right to be like that because he was there first, and he was a trailblazer in what he did, and he's right. And so what was brilliant about it was you just can't have it all, right? No. You can't have it all. You can't be Mr. Lovely and be the best in the world. You can't, right? And you can't be, you can have all the baubles and bangles, but you'll not be universally loved. And that's a brilliant lesson to learn, And if you want to be universally loved, you're not going to be Michael Jordan.
I mean, there's so many fascinating things. I mean, the fascinating thing for me, and it brings it up time and time again, is the nature versus nurture. which has been spoken about by Malcolm McGladwell and more recently Matthew Syed in Bounce. But, you know, you look at a combination. I mean, he wasn't that good when he started college.
No.
He was all right, but he wasn't a world-class athlete. And I think one of his coaches took a pop at him, and that was it. That was all he needed. And he never stopped after that. It's utter relentless ambition and hard work.
Have you ever met anybody in the flesh who has that?
Have I?
Has your son got that?
No, I don't think he has.
So
no, he has the ability to grind it. I don't know whether I've seen talent and I've seen hard work. I've not seen anyone who's sort of half talented who has the absolute grind. I mean, my reference point is obviously rugby. And frustratingly, sometimes you see the guys with the most talent do the least work, and they're the one they never make it. And some of the guys with the less talent who work harder do make it, and that's kind of the paradox, isn't it? And then every once in a generation, you get a Michael Jordan who has some of that innate talent. I mean, he's not particularly tall either for a basketball player. He's 6'5", 6'6". I mean, but boy, could he fly! And Jesus, and you look at what he must have done the work behind the scenes.
I did. Huge amounts of work. Huge. I have one proper reference point now, which is the story that I've told a lot on the blog and things like that about Louis Dunn. And so I went riding a bike with Louis Dunn, who's my daughter's boyfriend now. He's 17, but I've known Louis really well since he was 14. And when he suffered sort of personal tragedy, and he wants to be a triathlete, and he doesn't. So 17, he doesn't want to be an Olympic distance triathlete or a sprint triathlete. He wants to be a long distance triathlete, and so he knows exactly what.
So was that? Is Kona his aim? Is that sort of thing?
Yeah, professional triathlete, and I went cycling. So he's 17, and I went cycling with him 3 times last week. But I went cycling with him yesterday. And when we finished the bike ride yesterday, Louis had ridden 399.7 miles last week. And it's about 0.4 miles to his house. So he rode home. So he did 400 miles on his bike last week, right? And he filled up a paddling pool in his garden full of water and tied a rope around his leg so that he could swim during lockdown. And so if I tell you about Training Peaks, if I tell you that yesterday's CTL was 118, Andy. And so I've watched someone apply themselves, not eating dairy, 17, not eating dairy, doesn't drink, and I've just watched him, his body change, and he's get taller, and I've never seen anybody in the flesh with intrinsic motivation like it. But that's what Jordan had. It's intrinsic motivation. Yeah,
it's that willingness to get up early on your own without someone kicking you.
I don't have it. I don't have it like that. I won't hurt myself. I don't have capacity to hurt myself enough for my job or for cycling or for work. I can't suffer right enough. And Louis Dunn knows how to suffer already.
It's interesting. I'm reading The Art of Resilience by Ross Edgley at the minute.
Yeah.
So that's his new book. So for those who don't know, Ross Edgley is a guy who swam around Britain. And that resilience and that ability to, I mean, he was able to get up every day, jump off a boat and swim for sort of 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah.
And that mental fortitude, I think some of it can be taught, but some people just have that intrinsic ability to keep going and to want to do it.
Something has happened to them, or
there's something in the background or the history that sometimes does it.
All endurance athletes are running away from something. That's what Lance Armstrong said, and I think he's probably right. And I think all great athletes are probably running away from something. And so Last Dance, and then from my book, is the latest Matthew Syed book. Not Matthew Syed, Simon Sinek book, which
Infinite Game.
An Infinite Game, which is a brilliant bit of work.
Never truer than at the minute, is it?
It's the best one he's written, and
I think so.
It's definitely his best book, isn't it? But it's and I reread the His Dark Materials trilogy as well, which is the Philip Pullman books from 22 years ago, which are the most important books I'd ever read for one reason or another. And that's the stuff that I've done. And I'm trying to do a couple of others at the moment, but I've sort of lost my oomph for reading for a little while, just because it comes and goes.
Yeah.
So if anybody's watching this and if you want to do download a book, because if you've got Amazon Prime, you get 2 free books free on Audible to start with, and if you've not got Amazon Prime, you get 1. So that Simon Sinek one is a cracker. I do hope, and I'm not sure that, I think it's probably a full-on hope, but I hope that through the other side of this, people would adopt more of a mindset that's related to that book in terms of how they run their businesses and how they run themselves.
Yeah.
Think about further into the future instead of just thinking about tomorrow. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think those who didn't plan for this and maybe got stung, you would think probably will plan a bit for the long term.
Or like me.
Yeah, possibly got, and me.
Yeah, I didn't plan. Well, yeah, how much do you plan? I could have. They always said you need 3 months worth of contingency, don't they? You need 3 months worth of contingency, and that I don't know who said that or where that came from, but that was always a well accepted. 3 months worth of turnover and 3 months worth of personal contingency. Well, that's probably not going to be good enough.
No, because it's going to hurt a little bit the other side of this. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it is. But hey, do you know, it's what. Well, life didn't kill me, but I don't feel stronger. So life is short, but it feels much longer.
But
Frank Turner.
And I need to ask the question that everyone's asking: did you get a hot tub?
Yes, we did. Well, kinda. So we got which is ridiculous, a ridiculous turn of event in my house. We got.
Did you get a lazy spa?
Yes, an inflatable hot tub.
It's a slippery slope.
Well, I'm not sure if it's slippery slope when there's sandpaper on the slope like my wife, but it was her that insisted upon it. So the story behind the Campbell family's descending into the swinger sect is that the
I'm not going to tell you what we've got.
I'll find out in a minute then. But this week, last week. So today I was returning back from Italy with Colin. We were going to the caravan site in Italy that we did last year, and it obviously got bounced at, and we got money back from. Well, we're in the process of getting money back, which I do think we will from Ryanair because we've done all the forms and stuff. I think they will come back. And so, in terms of the absolute fixed cost per month, that money was coming back into the pot. That was a no-brainer. That was so we were able to look at that and go, do you know what? Colin never got on holiday, so we're going to do that. And so we went to B&Q and several times, and the women was just tonight, you're never getting one of these. They queue up at 7 o'clock, they buy them, sell them for twice as much on eBay. But I was chatting I was with my daughter at the time, and or Rosie, one of my daughters, and the lady said, but I can tell you're genuine. So she took her name on a bit of paper and basically phoned us when they came in and kept on the side for us and gave us it. And it was brilliant, bit of customer service, amazing.
Yeah, you wrote the blog about that. It was astonishing.
We got one. So we got it, and actually it's very well appreciated and very well used, and it's been great to sort of sit there and with Callum and I use it. So
just chew the fat in the hot tub.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock at night, watching the sun go down, and that'll be one of the overriding. That and the bounce game of basketball, which it was a 2-on-3, and the other 3 boys were 12. That's a small detail, right? And that so some of those days and memories of this. What did you get? What did you get instead of a?
Well, no, we had a lazy spa. We're talking 6-7 years ago now. I know we found we were using it a lot, so we upgraded.
A proper.
Yeah.
And you use that a lot?
Yeah. It's we obviously people come around, they put the keys in the ashtray, and we go from there.
We didn't.
I wouldn't care, but we've got pampas grass out the front, and apparently that's a swinging thing too.
Well, we had our pampas grass removed because of that.
My wife's insisting we keep it. Why? I wonder what she does when I drive to Nottingham.
Because people get knocking on the door. So the final story about that is always read the instructions, and real men don't read the instructions. So when we got it a few weeks ago, you couldn't get these things at all. They were 2.5 times the cost on eBay. You certainly couldn't get chemicals or test strips or anything like that. So we just filled it up and used it. And it takes, I can tell you, 2.5 days until.
You get so excited and you think, shit, there's 10,000 litres of water that need to heat up.
No, it's not that. It's after 2.5 days when you turn the bubbles on, you go, that's not great. What's that smell? And you
Oh,
realise,
that one.
right, and you have to empty the whole thing again and refill it and put chemicals in it. So there you go, top tip.
I'll bring you a tub down next week.
Right, okay. I've got everything now.
Yeah.
Don't worry. All right, we good?
I think we're good. I think that was good.
Right, okay.
I mean, no one will listen to it, and it's a diary of COVID, isn't it?